Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Adam Bookman. I'm a co-founder and partner at Propelics, and I'm here with Maribel Lopez. Maribel is a principal analyst and the founder of Lopez Research. We are super excited today to introduce to you the Mobile Research Council. Just a few notes before we begin. You can follow the conversation from today's webinar on Twitter, following @Propelics and @Maribel Lopez. You'll also have the opportunity to ask questions anytime during this webinar using the QA panel on the WebEx screen. And want to let you know that this webinar is being recorded, so we'll send out the recording and a copy of the slides after the event. What we're going to do today is talk a little bit about the Mobile Research Council, why we created it, why we're so excited about it, what we offer in the Mobile Research Council. And Maribel is going to talk a little bit about the research agenda for 2014 and some trends that we're seeing, some predictions for 2014. And then there's going to be a special introductory offer at the end of the webinar. So let's just jump right into it. What is the Mobile Research Council? The idea of the Mobile Research Council stemmed from the Propelics clients' needs for market research and trend information, and really good market research and trend information related to the mobile space. And this is very difficult to find. We also see the needs of folks who are looking at market research and trend information and don't know how to turn that into actionable mobile strategy and an executable mobile strategy. And finally, the third pillar of the Mobile Research Council is community, and it's the idea that folks in the trenches would like to be speaking with other folks in the trenches and have the ability in a non-sales situation with no vendors on board to ask each other questions and to learn from each other and share each other's experiences. So the goal of the Mobile Research Council is to go from market trends to action as quickly as possible and help drive innovation and business value for Fortune 1000 companies. Like I mentioned, there's no sales angle, there's no vendor bias. Members benefit from insider access to real-world mobile experience from Maribel and Lopez Research, from Propelics, and importantly, from each other. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that works. So who we are, for those of you who don't know us, I see a lot of both of our clients on the call today, so thank you very much for attending. Propelics and Lopez Research advise the world's best brands on the use of mobile for their employees, their partners, their customers. There's no mobile hype, there's no vendor bias, and of course there's no hidden agenda. A little bit about Propelics. We create mobile strategies and world-class apps for the enterprise. The partners of Propelics have been working together for over 15 years, helping enterprises through disruptive technology shifts. For the last 5 or 6 years, we've been focused exclusively on mobile, helping enterprise companies on the business side figure out how they can incorporate mobile into their overall company strategies, what apps to build, where to start within an organization, how to think innovatively with mobile. And on the IT side, helping IT teams get ready for the wave of mobile to ensure that IT folks are in the game when it comes to mobile, that they're prepared from a people perspective, a process perspective, a strategy perspective. We work with some of the world's largest brands. We're based in San Jose with offices in Boston and Pittsburgh, and we work for clients around the world. I'm going to turn it over to Maribel, and she'll talk a little bit about Lopez Research and then get right into the Mobile Research Council. Maribel, take it away.
Hey. Great, perfect, thank you. Thanks for being on the call today, everyone. So I'm Maribel Lopez, I run Lopez Research. I started my career many moons ago in Motorola when we thought mobile was going to be big, and it only took a few decades to make that actually happen. Most recently, I was at Forrester Research, and I left Forrester Research about 5.5 years ago because I saw this big move towards mobile and towards enterprises wanting to move into mobile, and decided to pioneer the Lopez Research brand. It took a little while after that for people to really get on board. I think it wasn't really until after the iPad came out, that people on the enterprise side started seeing the benefit of mobile. Obviously, there was a lot of enthusiasm and excitement on the B2C side, and we've been doing some work on that as well. Our client base is a wide range of companies, anywhere from very small startup companies to 5 of the Fortune 20 use our services. They tend to be more on either the large side of companies or the smaller side of companies. We do a lot of work in terms of market education, trying to get trends out into the market. We've done a lot of work with UBM in terms of their conferences, Cloud Connect, Enterprise 2.0, Mobile Connect, and I've just partnered with the company Engage Events, and we're now running the Mobility Exchange Conference, and that's a group of 150 companies that come together to do a lot of what we talk about in the Mobile Research Council, learn about what the trends are, do some peer networking with each other. And from that, I realized some of the benefits of what having a community of peers can do and what having a community of peers across industries can actually help people with, because people want to talk to people that are having best practices in a different industry of theirs to see if there's any new learnings that they can have, and also to be in an environment that isn't necessarily competitive in trying to share best practices. So we do research and strategy consulting that help people mobile enable their businesses, and that could be business to employee, business to consumer, business to partner. And I want to spend just 1 minute talking about what mobile is for a second, because I think people think of it a lot as smartphones and tablets, but we look at mobility from the overarching mobile landscape, which can be anything from your wireless LANs through your mobile devices, through the new Internet of Things or older machine-to-machine style communications. So it's a broad range of what's happening in mobility. And it's also taking into consideration how mobility starts to intersect with other big trends that you're going to be dealing with. So mobile and big data, mobile and cloud computing, mobile and social, that type of thing. So that's basically what Lopez Research does. And when we thought of, when Adam and I were talking about what would be different about doing the Mobile Research Council, one of the things that we heard a lot from our client base is that we wanted somebody that we thought was objective. And so as a result of that, Lopez Research doesn't do ranking reports. We certainly have all of the Excel spreadsheets and understand what people do and understand the benefits of what the different vendors do, but there are no quadrants or waves or other things. We actually don't write vendor white papers, and we don't do reprints of vendor rankings. And the position that that puts us in is that we're trying to be very objective about where the trends are going, what you need, and recognizing that different people need different things. So as a result of that, when people buy Lopez Research, they don't feel that there's been an undue influence by vendors on what Lopez Research is producing. So if you are an enterprise and you want to know about trends, you can buy the research. If you're a vendor and you want to do market education, you have to buy a reprint of existing research. You can't get a special custom thing done for you that says you're amazing. So that's one of the things that we think is a hallmark of creating a community, is to try to have objective research. Now, the ability to go from theory to practicality, I think, is really important in this, and that's why I think the partnership between the two companies makes a lot of sense, because you have market research and you have a certain set of practical expertise in terms of what's happening, but you also need to have people that are actually implementing and understanding what some of the implementation constraints are, and bringing those two perspectives together to say, how do you really get something that is a mobile-enabled business process that really works for you? So that ability to go from theory to practical, I think, is something that's going to differentiate us. Now, I know that many of the market research firms have practitioners, but I think it's also important having practitioners that are actually in the space now doing something, dealing with the technology, and that's where I think the Lopez Research Propelics mix is a really good combination. IT and business perspective. In order for this to really be successful, in order for any project to really be successful, you need to really understand what are the business constraints and what are the technology constraints, and how do we bring both business leaders and technology leaders together to make an impactful solution. And I think we've got a good mix of that with the combination of the two companies. And as I mentioned earlier, people want to learn from each other. And we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but this whole concept of how people evolve to being mobile businesses, you just don't flip a switch and you're a mobile business. There is a process for evolution, and part of communities is helping each other figure out where I am in the process, where you are in the process, what you've learned and what you can share, and then exchanging creative ideas of what's worked and what hasn't worked. So that's some of what I see as our differentiation in the space. And how we're going to do this is we basically have three different pillars, so to speak, or in this case, a triangle. Yeah, so we've got the mobile market research and analysis that Lopez Research was already doing. Both Propelics and Lopez Research have spent a lot of time dealing one-on-one with clients in what I would consider a pretty deep and meaningful way, not 30-minute calls, but hours, days, weeks, helping our clients understand what some of these changes are, understanding their concerns, and trying to create something that is specific to their needs. So we've done a lot in advisory. And now I think what we want to do to really make this sing for everybody is to bring people together in this community to talk about what we've seen that's worked, what we see coming down the road, what might be exciting about that. Like Google Glass is a great example. It's either exciting or paralyzing, depending on who you are as an organization, or how you do mobile app development is another one of these really interesting topics. So basically, the community aspect is the new thing I think that we're both bringing to the table to make the offering more compelling. And what we hope you'll bring to the table, because the community, after all, is the sum of its members. So the research and analysis portion of this, let me spend just a minute talking about this. So we've been working on mobile for a while. We've been focusing on enterprise mobility for a while. I also want to take a moment to talk about the fact that I'm working on a book on what we call right time experiences. And this is the evolution of mobile and the thought that mobile was evolving into contextual experiences. It weren't just contextual for consumers, but for consumers and enterprises. So basically the concept of giving somebody the right information or the right service at the point of need. And I think that this is, as a business, one of the bigger transitions that we're going to move through, and it's a combination of mobile, big data, and analytics. It's not just one technology, it's pulling multiple technologies together to really change a business process. And that's a lot of the research that we're going to be working on in 2014 is what if that is mobile and what do you need to do on the mobile side, but what other things do you need to be thinking about to really make this work? So that's a combination of some of the macro trends that are happening. We're also looking at use cases. I mean, there's some practicality of getting this up and running. You want to enable the workforce, you got to think about enterprise mobility management. You got to think about mobile application development platforms. You have to think about what kind of analytics do you want to have on the go. So that's where we start to get into some of the use cases and some of the experiences people have had. And I think the vision for future business services is about becoming more agile, more right time, which could be real time or near real time, more dynamic, and creating systems that can do that. And it's moving from what had been a series of working over years to get things out to working in timelines that look like months. It's in iterative design. It's in understanding how people want to change processes as a result of having new contextual information, new devices. So it's a pretty exciting time to be an industry analyst, and it's a pretty exciting time to be in business because this is the time in business where we move from keeping the lights on to really doing creative, innovative things with technology. So I'm super excited about it, and I'm always thrilled to hear the new and creative things people are doing with mobile that I hadn't even thought of. So that's always great. So word on the agenda, and agendas can change, and agendas are very customer driven in our organization. So if people start calling up and saying, hey, this BYOD thing is over, I get it, we want to talk about something else now, we can move the agenda. But there's some, very what I would call standard things. What's the state of enterprise mobile adoption? And those are surveys, and I'll show you the latest iterations of that in a moment. So people want to learn how to manage the mobile devices and the applications that go with them. They're talking about securing the enterprise. One of the big things that we're seeing happen a lot now is people want to talk about content management. People have SharePoint, people have Oracle, people have a lot of things that they want to get onto mobile devices now. So it's more of, how do I take my legacy services and I get them onto devices? Who thought SharePoint was going to be like one of the big mobile questions? But it is, apparently. Internet of Things and machine-to-machine are starting to come back into the landscape as a topic, both on the business-to-consumer side, but also how they might impact business-to-business and your own internal efficiencies. We talked a little bit about the intersection of mobile big data and cloud computing. We'll be doing a lot of work on that. Building business case for mobility still comes up all the time. So trying to map what your goals as an organization are back to your mobile deployments, and how do you define which happens first? What applications and services match these goals? How do you get the biggest bang for the buck? How do you get the quick hits and look like a hero? All those things are things we want to talk about in the research. So to give you a little feel for what some of this can look like, so we asked IT leaders what their top IT concerns were. And this is across a spectrum of technology. And one of the things that I think was really interesting was at the and I would say at the middle of 2013, people started to talk a lot about managing big data, which was actually pretty new. If you went back into 2012 or even the beginning of 2013, that wasn't really on the roadmap. And mobile enabling the business has actually moved from what was priority number 6 3 years ago into priority number 2. So clearly, now is the time for a Mobile Research Council, because we really care about what's happening with mobility, and it really has the ability to impact our business. So these tend to be every 6 months or every quarter, depending on the type of research we want to collect, just so you know sort of the cadence of how the surveys happen. As a matter of fact, the data that I just showed you, the 2014 number, was just surveyed for this quarter and hasn't even been published yet, so you've gotten a sneak peek. Now, this is, as we pertain specifically to mobile, what are the top IT concerns with mobile? And security has actually come back into being the #1 concern, edging out what was 6 months ago talking a lot more about mobile app development. And I think the shift that we've seen happen here is security is always in the top 3. It goes in and out depending on certain things. And the thing that's happening now is people are talking about enabling a much broader set of their workforce. And they've really embraced the concept of BYOD, and now they're knee-deep in those strategies. We talked about this for more than a year now, but everybody seems to be on that board somehow. So that's raised security concerns for some people. The people that are farther along on the journey are really now into the how do I mobile enable business apps beyond email and calendar, and that's where they are in their segment. And just to give you an example of some of the types of things that they're mobile enabling, everybody's doing email and contacts. CRM seems to be one of the next big ones, inventory. And so we'll be doing another survey on this in the first quarter to figure out if that's changed considerably in terms of the types of things people want to mobile enable. And I mentioned that there is an evolution to mobile, and we call it extend, enhance, transform. Sadly, I couldn't find a third E to put in there because that would have been really quite nice. But extending is really about taking the things you have today and mobile enabling some of them. It's a lot of getting rid of paper processes and the like. Enhancing might be doing things like adding location into a process. And then transforming is doing something completely different than you'd done it in the past as a result of having mobile and some of the other contextual technologies that provides. And one of the things that I'm thinking about in the council as we get more and more members is trying to map people to where they are on this journey, and then having people within the journey being able to talk about what their challenges are, say in extend phase, but then also having people from, say, transform phase talk about where you can go so that you can start to build your roadmaps of what works today, but what your strategy should be for thinking of things to move towards as you're going along the journey. That's some of the things I was thinking about, both in the research, in the book, and in the council. And I'm going to turn it back over to Adam for a few minutes to talk a little bit about advisory services.
Great, thanks, Maribel. So we're super excited about the research and what that will provide to the members. But in order to turn that research into action, the second pillar is mobile advisory services. And you can think of this in two ways. The first part of mobile advisory services is the concept that we'll provide you with proven templates, tools, frameworks, and actual examples. They could be mobile use cases, they could be RFI documents that are ready to go, they could be MDM setup documents, examples that will help you ramp up as quickly as possible, gain from real-world experience, obviously not sharing any client-specific information. And the other side of advisory is actual tactical advice and guidance to help make sure that you're executing your mobile projects as quickly as possible and as effectively as possible, and you're getting the most out of mobile. I wanted to give you some examples of what we can do with the advisory hours that we provide as part of the membership in the Mobile Research Council. And this is how we've seen our clients use advisory hours from Propelics in the past. And in addition, let me just mention that we're offering advisory hours from Maribel and her team on analyst briefings. So anytime you'll have a certain number of hours to speak with Maribel and her team and a certain number of hours to speak with Propelics and our team. And this work can be performed on-site at your offices with your teams or off-site just in an advisory capacity on phone calls to help you along the way. We've seen our clients use us from a technology perspective to provide things like mentoring on MDM and mobile application management, vendor selections or implementation best practices, oversight on mobile application design, on vendor selections across a number of areas, including MADP, cross-platform tools, and testing tools, mobile analytics platforms, crash management type platforms, helping with decisioning frameworks around native versus hybrid versus HTML5. That's still a very hot topic in many of our clients. Looking at UX guidelines and best practices. Also on the governance side, we've done a lot of work advising organizations on the best practices in setting up mobile governance programs and mobile standards type programs, mobile statements of direction, how to really measure and monitor the success of your mobile initiatives and your mobile program as an organization. And finally, business guidance is something that we're very often providing and helping companies innovate with mobile, just looking at what's possible with mobile. What are the best use cases that we can go after? As Maribel stated, everyone's looking at email and calendaring and CRM, but the true value of mobile, cross-cuts all that into, as Maribel was discussing, real-time experiences, giving people the right information at the right time to do their jobs. And how do we make that happen with mobile? And how do we start thinking in that way? Innovation's difficult, but it's extremely important, and the benefits are just absolutely tremendous. So in order to do this, on top of the kind of the you-pick-it advisory services to help you along the way, we've identified, we've come up with the idea of executive innovation sessions that we're going to offer through the Mobile Research Council. And these are ways to use your advisory hours. We set up 4 sessions. They're on-site 2 to 3 day sessions that cover a variety of topics. The first session is the art of the possible, and this is a business-focused session that helps you build your mobile app roadmap, helps you with looking within your industry and across industries on what the best of the best are doing with mobile. We bring to the table mobile use cases that we know work in other like organizations, drawing on consumer-based experiences that are really great when it comes to mobile, and other corporate-based experiences, and then work with you to define a mobile app roadmap that aligns to your overall company's strategic goals. Those are very exciting sessions. They're really fun to work on, and it's a great way to kickstart ideation in the organization. The second session is on IT readiness, and we have an IT readiness lab. Again, this is a 3-day session that kickstarts your IT group's thinking around how to best prepare for mobile. What are all the areas that we need to look at? We have a great mobile maturity matrix where we do some scoring and benchmarking against other organizations in the industry and within like sizes of industries to show you where you are compared to others. But more importantly, we start to put together an action plan, a very tactical action plan to get you on the way. To look at what tactics you need to take to ensure that you're ready for mobile and what order do you need to take them in. Something that at the end of the 3 days you can get going on right away to ensure that your IT team is getting ready for the wave of mobile and that IT is not going to be left out of the equation. The third one is our mobile ideation studio, and these are really cool 3-day workshops where we work with our clients in the council to take an idea from the back of a napkin to an actual working app. We don't build a full app in 3 days, but we really deep dive into the concept, to the storyboard of the idea, to the interaction flow, build some visualizations for you. So we start to turn it into reality. And it's amazing how quickly you can do things in the mobile world. And just the pace of mobile is really, it's kind of groundbreaking in large organizations, how quickly you can make things happen from a mobile perspective. And we try to bring that to you through the council. And then finally, a lot of our clients are thinking about a mobile center of excellence, but still struggling with what does that mean? What is our mobile center of excellence going to do? How would we deliver information through the mobile center of excellence? What type of organization are we? What's the reach of the COE from a geography perspective, from a type of app perspective? What's our vision? What's our mission? What's our charter? And what organization structure do we need to support the mobile center of excellence? All of these questions are outstanding in many, many companies, and we have a really nice defined process to answer it. So these are great ways to use the mobile advisory portion of the Mobile Research Council. So next I want to talk about the mobile community, and this is what I get really, really excited about. I think our clients are always looking to talk to others in the trenches, to share ideas, to share best practices. And what we're doing is creating a community of industry leaders, both on the IT side and on the business side, to provide really a hotbed of ideas, to have the ability to ask questions and get real-world answers from each other and from Lopez Research and Propelics. We're providing a forum for one-to-one interaction, as well as a monthly program of guest speakers, an interactive roundtable where we all get together and discuss what's going on. Just to give an example of what the community looks like, it begins with an interactive Yammer discussion board that you have access to either directly on Yammer on your mobile device or on the web or through email. You can interact and receive relevant mobile white papers and articles. You can receive Maribel's research and the Propelics templates and best practice guides. But you can also ask questions to each other and really interact and do some knowledge sharing. What I think is really neat is the idea of monthly roundtable webinars that we're planning, the first one for the beginning of February of next year, in topics such as enterprise mobile management solutions and securing the mobile enterprise. We'll have guest speakers from the industry who are in the trenches of mobile, and it's not a situation where you all will join the call and you'll be on mute. It's one of those situations where there'll be a short presentation, and then we'll have the ability for everyone to interact and ask questions, a true roundtable discussion. And finally, the council provides a great way to do networking, to meet other mobile leaders, to share real-world experiences, and to learn and network. We've also been asked a few times leading up to the introduction of the council if we're going to have in-person meetings, and it's something that if there's enough interest for, we would like to plan some in-person gatherings, maybe once or twice a year to start, where we can get together in person and not just over the phone and over the web. So the timeline for the Mobile Research Council, We're launching it this month. We're building founding members, adding brands to the Mobile Research Council, and those of you that commit to the council by the end of this year will be listed as founding members. In January, you'll get your first set of research reports and access to Propelics and Lopez resources. And starting in February, we'll begin the monthly conference calls, as well as member-to-member calls and other education calls, and the beginning of the advisory services. And we'll be doing this monthly along the way. I'm going to come back. I'm going to hand it over to Maribel to talk about some trends that we're seeing and predictions for 2014. But then I'll come back and talk about what exactly you get with the Mobile Research Council membership, and I'll present the special offer for the participants on the webinar today. So Maribel, let me hand it back to you.
Sure. So I know a lot of people have their 2014 trends and predictions that are going to start to come out. I actually think one of the things that's interesting in the mobile space is that it obviously continues to move very quickly, but some of the things that we've been talking about for a while are actually now just getting going in earnest, I would say, in a meaningful way across organizations. So last year, I guess it's this year still, I categorized 2013 as the year that everybody talked about BYOD. So BYOD was everywhere, and a lot of the debates about whether or not people are going to do BYOD sort of stopped and became, well, what are you going to do in BYOD, and how do you do BYOD? And I think that one of the things that the next acronym soup thing that we're going to be talking about is mobile backend as a service, and I hope that we will get a better name for this over the course of the year. But this is basically the concept of, now that we've decided to do stuff, how do we get what we have in our legacy systems out and into our mobile applications and services that we want to provide? So what do the connectors look like? What does the middleware look like? What does the front end of that look like? So a lot of that will be in part of what we call mobile backend as a service, and that'll be our next new hot buzzword that I think a lot of people will be talking about this year. Contextual identity will start to become the next wave of enterprise mobility management. So one of the things that's happened over the course of the years is we've moved from what was mobile device management to having a lot of discussion and dialogue around mobile applications management, containerization, and so that was sort of wave two. We went from talking about devices to talking about apps. I think in 2014, we're going to start to talk more about content and people and context of those. So a person is in a certain geographic location at a certain time, trying to access certain documents. Good thing, bad thing. What type of device are they on? What should they have access to? Do we do time expiration of content? So all of that stuff kind of fits into the contextual identity of it becoming less about the device and the app and more about the content and the person. BYOD is not going to go away as a concept or a term. We're still going to talk about it. We're going to be talking more about what we provide on those BYOD-enabled platforms. So certainly everybody is doing email and calendaring, but what else and how do you do it? And are there containers, and does it have secure email in it or not, or is that something that's native? So all those discussions around the practicality of what is now that we're doing it. Something I think many of us in the mobile sector have been excited about for a long time were location-based services. And location-based services, both in the consumer side, but also in the employee side. And I think we have talked a lot about targeted advertising as part of that. I think 2014 will extend the notion beyond targeted advertising, but I also think we're going to start to see much more interest happening on the indoor side of location. We've seen some great acquisitions. We've seen there's stuff going on with Apple, there's stuff going on with Qualcomm, a lot of stuff going on with Bluetooth and beaconing now. So really trying to figure out how that might change the landscape of what you can do with locationing will be another interesting trend, more for our B2C clients this year, but we're pretty excited about that too. So those are a few of the trends that we're seeing. There will actually be a top 10, and that will come out the first week of January with everybody else's top 10 list. But these are just a few of the things we're thinking about to get you started noodling on the concepts for 2014. And I will turn that back to you, Adam.
Thank you very much. So let me tell you about what's included with membership in the Mobile Research Council. The first part are the research seats for Lopez Research. This provides enterprise mobility market analysis and industry trends, vendor briefs, and industry vertical specific information. There are 12 comprehensive analysis reports and 12 additional briefs from Lopez Research. In addition, you get unlimited access to the Mobile Research Council community with the ability to interact with decision makers and mobile pioneers from Fortune 1000 companies across many industries, across many geographies, with the ability to ask questions and share information, do some collaboration, specifically related to mobile. And finally, you have the Mobile Advisory Services, which combines 10 hours of Lopez Research inquiry calls with the ability to ask questions on a wide range of topics, and 100 hours of mobile advisory services from Propelics that can be delivered either on-site or off-site. That includes access to Propelics mobile strategy experts from the business side, IT side, networking, security, mobile application development, mobile support, across the board, UX experts, you name it. So it's really the combination of these three services together in one offering that we think makes the council exciting.
Adam, can I pop in for a second?
Yeah, sure.
So one of the things that we heard loud and clear from our research subscribers was that they didn't have a lot of time to read, actually. So the context of why the 12 reports and why not, 150 big reports is because those are meant to be sort of more what's the strategy documents, what are the survey components, so if we've got data on who's mobile enabling or how they're mobile enabling. So that's all the quantitative stuff and all the big strategy stuff. And then the theory was that there would be lots of briefs, at least the number that's on there, but briefs when things happen so that you could get more in the know action. So for example, there's a brief coming out today about Dell because Dell at Dell World announced new enterprise mobility management platform. And so the concept there is to get out, your two-page, here's what Dell's announcements means for you and your business, right? And have more of those and less of the big bang tomes. So if there's any comments on that, or if you think there should be a different approach to that, that'd be great. We're also thinking about adding what I would call some shorter video content or little snippets of, here's the pack of 3 PowerPoint slides that you might want to have that gives you just the data, right? So it's just the data, the bigger reports, and the briefs, plus the advisory time that Adam had already mentioned. Adam, back to you.
Great. Thanks. It's a great opportunity now if you have any questions about the Mobile Research Council or for Maribel about trends or for Propelics to ask them now in the WebEx screen. We have a couple we have a couple of questions already in. One just came in from Joseph. Is this U.S. only or does it also cover Canada? And it definitely covers Canada. And we have many global companies that are our current clients and that are founding members of the Mobile Research Council. So it covers not only the U.S. but Canada and abroad, which is really important because as you know with mobile there are very specific privacy regulations and different adoption trends across the globe. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us. You can go to mobileresearchcouncil.com and info@mobileresearchcouncil.com, and there's a form on the website. You have our email and the 888 number, so there are lots of ways to get in touch with us. Maybe I'll get to a couple questions. Just one second. The first question is from JP, and Maribel, I'll throw this to you. It's about, can you talk about B2E and B2C convergence in the mobile space, and what are you seeing in the market?
Sure. So there used to be a very distinct boundary between what people wanted to do in business to consumer versus business to enterprise. And in fact, there were even different platforms that you would purchase from a development standpoint to do that. What we're seeing now is, I don't want to say that employees are consumers and consumers are employees, but we have seen sort of a flattening of this concept. And now we're seeing people look at, is there a say a universal mobile app development platform that I can use to build for both B2C and B2E. They're starting to look at this mobile backend as a service concept and say, okay, I need to be able to, some of the things I want to give to consumers, I also want to give to my employees. So for example, both of them need access to inventory. If you're a retailer, somebody in your customer wants access to inventory, but the person that's on the floor also wants access to that inventory. So we're starting to see more of that concept melding. So I think we've always had the concept of melding the user experience. I will say that there's one set of differences, and there's some differences around BYOD in terms of who owns the device and what do you secure. So there's been a big movement toward creating a container and securing the corporate data in its own separate sandbox, and then allowing the rest of the device to work the way it had in the past. So that's one issue of concern. I'd say securing corporate content in general is a big difference between what you do with B2C and B2E. With the exception of financial services, they have to do a strong security on both sides, it seems. So in general, I would say the trend is moving more towards creating a set of underlying infrastructure that can support both of those groups. And some of the differences become into how flashy is the front-end content for that, or how deep do you need to integrate into the back-end systems to make that happen. I think that's the nature of the question, Adam, but if there's any more context, let me know.
No, that's great. There was a question regarding the pricing, and if that's individual member pricing or enterprise pricing. And the price provides access to 3 seats for Lopez Research briefings and reports, and 3 seats for the access to the Mobile Research Council community. The advisory hours are managed by one of those 3 seats, but they can be used for anyone within the organization. The next question comes from Judy-Ann, and the question is and maybe Maribel, I'll throw this to you and then I can respond afterwards. Just talk a little bit about the native experience versus HTML5 versus the modified, the hybrid type experience, and what you're seeing and when they should be different. This is a question that we still get all the time.
I think it's a question that everybody's asking right now, so it's a very common question. So I've always looked at this as about the richness of experience that you're trying to provide and how much you need to tap into the device, right? So if you want an extraordinarily rich experience, and if you need to tap into device features such as the camera, the accelerometers, the context calendar, you're probably skewing towards a native experience. A lot of things that you might want to do, if they're just like a call for information, they might be fine in a mobile web experience, assuming you have a good mobile web experience. The hybrid is actually kind of interesting because hybrid gets to a point where I want to create something that looks sort of like a native look and feel, but I don't want to recode it over and over and over again. So that is actually a good strategy, but a difficult balance to make. And we find that works when you're saying, okay, I might want to tap into 1 or 2 things, but not a lot, right? So a lot of it's about, it's a continuum of richness of experience. I found that people are extremely philosophical about this when I talk to them, and they want to pick one, and they want one to be the answer. So usually it's we're an all-native shop or we're an all mobile web shop, and that's how they're trying to play it. I actually think it's much more complicated and nuanced than that. I think you actually need to look at your applications, need to look at your use cases, and match the development type to the various use cases.
I would say we're exactly on the same page with that, and that's what I was going to mention, that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. You have to let the use case drive the decision. There are certain times where a mobile website makes a lot of sense, just maybe for pushing content or for some simple workflow activities when there's a lot of connectivity, when everyone's well connected. But there are many times where native makes a lot of sense to use if you want to make use of deep device functionality, if you want to create beautiful UXs, which you can really do a lot more of using orientation of the device and other device-related features. And if performance is a concern, if you have deep hooks into the enterprise, HTML5 is still not caught up to native at this point. It could be coming, and there are a lot of predictions saying that the world's moving towards HTML5, but as of this point, we're not seeing that, and many of our clients are still building native apps. But our advice strongly is to take it use case by use case and build some decisioning criteria so you don't have to relitigate the decision every time you have a new mobile use case. We see that going on a lot within large companies. So I think we will wrap it up for now. We're a few minutes early, but I encourage you to check out mobileresearchcouncil.com. We'll be sending you these slides with the recording, and we hope to have conversations with you in the days, weeks, and months to come. And Maribel, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.